Thank you. These earrings are from Realm and Reason. I know they don't look like her normal Realm and Reason, but they are, and I love them. I love them. Okay, so good morning, friends. All right, so if you saw my post yesterday, we started talking about how we treat women, all right? Big gulp of coffee, friends. Good morning, Vivi. So, what I want to tell you is that I was watching TV, and I think this is what kind of just like boom for me, because that's kind of how it happens now, right? We're just kind of bumping around, minding our own business, and something will hit differently, something you've heard a million times before, and all of a sudden it just hits really off, and it makes you just stop and say, what? Right? So I was watching this, I don't know if it was a show or a movie. Yes, I do. It was a horrible movie. Bad Boys for Life. Don't watch it. It'll ruin the rest of the Bad Boys franchise for you. Anyway, in the movie, the guy's daughter is with a man, and she is a grown-up person, and he is a grown-up person, but they're not married. And she gets pregnant, and he says to the man that he has to make an honest woman out of his daughter. And his daughter's like sitting in the same room too. And I know I've heard that so many times. It's like, it's one of our tropes, right? In any literature and pop TV culture situation. But I was sitting there and I was like, are you serious? Like, these two had sex, got pregnant, which is a joint venture, I might add. And now he's supposed to make an honest woman out of her, as if her utilizing her 100% God-given right to reproduce is somehow wrong unless he owns her legally. So I kind of sat with that and I was like, no, like this is not funny, because it was supposed to be funny, right? We're supposed to laugh and say, ha 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 ha. It's not funny at all. And so I want to talk about this because there are a lot of things like that that are enmeshed in our popular culture and things we perpetuate with our words and our nonverbal actions and our energy that we don't even realize. But the main thing is objectification, right? What does that mean? It means you take a sovereign being and take away their sovereignty, and you turn them into a thing with specific purposes that you can use, all right? The other part of this is that if you have been a sovereign person who has been objectified for long enough, you start to crave feeling useful and belonging to somebody, right? So it's this incredible psychological, like I want to say some real bad words here, but it's a real mind game. And what it does is takes our sovereignty away, okay? And our current climate and culture around all things points to that. If, you know, growing up, I would look at, you know, like Teen Cosmo and stuff, and all that magazine would be full of was ways to get a boyfriend, to make your boyfriend like you, to make yourself prettier so boys would think you would look better, to be exactly the right weight so boys would think you were pretty. The question and answers were all these girls asking, you know, I have a somewhat of a unibrow. Will boys still like me? How's the best way to kiss so a boy will like me? Whoa, right? Way to play into objectification culture. And I'm focusing on this end of it, but there's so many different facets of it. And objectification culture negatively affects the women being objectified, the men being objectified, and the people objectifying. It's not a win-win in any way. It's all very, very deep level dark energy for the soul, for the sovereignty, right? So it wraps us up in that cycle. So as we're moving towards, like a bullet train, towards new earth energy, it's really important to examine the parts in our life currently that we are still tugging these patriarchal threads and allowing objectification to be part of our life, right? And one of those big ways is with our daughters, right? And with our little boys that we're teaching to be men, because it's so easy to treat, for whatever reason, to treat our daughters like they have to protect their sanctity. They have to stay pure. They have to be good, right? What does that mean, right? Why is it that our bodies, which are sovereign and meant to be our own, are somehow the property of a man? First our fathers, and then whatever man we decide to be with. And why do we sometimes crave that? Why do we crave ownership? Why do we as women fall into that trap of saying, you know, he's mine and I'm his, we own each other. We own each other. Like, don't look at anybody else. Like, you're mine, this is mine. Why do we do that? What is inside of us that makes us feel so frenetic and desperate and clingy and insecure that we don't feel comfortable enough just being us, being sovereign beings, taking care of ourselves, right? Being in this. Why is it that we somehow think it is more valuable for a woman not to have sex until she's married? What freaking difference does that make? At all. How is it anybody's business, right? How is it anybody's business ever who you decide to have sex with or not have sex with or when? How is it a discussion, right? So these things are, we see them, right? We can discuss them, but they're still ingrained in us. So we have to be aware that we're not continuing to perpetuate them by joking about them, by making light of them, by allowing little comments to come through that are unknowingly perpetuating this system of objectification. Because we are not objects. That's really fucked up. We're not objects. But if we perceive ourselves as our only worth being what we can do for other people, then we are playing into that objectification culture and allowing ourselves to be vessels to be used. And that is not sovereign. And it doesn't actually feel good, does it? Right? But it's scary to step outside of that. Because if your whole life you've been told that this is what your worth is and this is what your role is, what else do you know? Except that something inside of you is saying that's just not right. It's not, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. But stepping outside of that is terrifying because you don't know what's there to catch you. But it's time now to do those terrifying things and step outside and see what catches you, because you have to move into sovereignty now. There's no choice. If you don't move into sovereignty, then you are not going to experience that new earth energy, because it does not work in that old 3D patriarchal objectification culture. That is a low density. I'm gonna pull up here because we have some comments and I wanna read them. And my eyes are not really doing great with that. Vivi says, the entire patriarchal history of brainwashing, indoctrination, and hypnosis is foul. Just imagine what world history would be if the feminine divine would bloom. Robert says, this is hitting home. I've been in that same spot wanting to be attractive to other men, but I'm having to learn how to love myself regardless of other guys find me attractive. Absolutely. All of these things. And Vivi, like, what's exciting to me, even though I'm like, ooh, good morning, everybody. Do you want to talk about this really crazy thing and really depressing? It's not depressing. And that's what I want to tell you. None of this is depressing. It is exciting because we are changing it. When you see, you cannot unsee. What a gift, right? I just saw something, I can't unsee it. Now I'm seeing it everywhere and I'm like, oh my God, you guys, did you know we do this? And that's how we change our behaviors, right? We find these things and we change them. And our divine feminine and our divine masculine are rising within us and showing us how they don't belong in this type of a culture anymore, right? So that means we need to listen, right? Listen to yourself. Listen to what's coming through. Listen to your intuition and speak. And this is the big one, right? Because how much do we see that we don't say anything about? And I'm totally guilty of this because I don't like to stir the pot. Can you believe it? But I don't, especially like if I'm scrolling through Facebook, you won't see me commenting much on anything because I'm like, what's the point? This is a shit stir situation. And, but when you see, now, and this is the important part, when you see something, when you hear something that is not right, it hits you wrong, say something. You don't have to attack anybody when you do. You can correct people, right? There's no way that we change things without addressing them, right? And what I was saying to you guys yesterday and why this is so important that we figure this out rather quickly is because in New Earth energy, it's not just man and woman and one sexual orientation and one gender. It's not that anymore. It's all the things. We are so many things at so many different points in time. In New Earth, we don't discriminate people by their gender, by who they decide to have sex with, by what they identify as, because we as humans have endless iterations of all of those things that can change over time as we begin to learn more about ourselves and experience different things and experiment and open up to different energies. That's part of what is coming and what we're already seeing. So in that New Earth paradigm, we don't have room for this objectification culture. We don't have room for people not to respect women and see them as people. Because if you can't do that, if you can't look at another woman and show them the same amount of respect as you would show another man, then how on earth are you going to do that for a trans person? How on earth are you going to do that for a woman who decides to be with women, right? It's very difficult if one part of you is super misogynistic. So we have to change that because it is divisive. These are the things that make us separate from each other and allow us to put each other into little boxes and say this is a good box and this is a bad box. And you want to be in the good box, not the bad box, because if you're in the bad box, we're going to be really mean to you. We don't do that anymore, okay? So this has to be taken care of because I had somebody comment to me yesterday that, it's not just about women, it's not just about women. And I was very, very clear in my post that it is not just about women, but this is a big thing. Because if we cannot handle this part, how do we handle more than that, right? We need to get rid of it. Get rid of it. It's overdone, totally overdone. And that means not being tolerant. That means not saying, I'm just gonna look away. It's saying, oh, grandpa said that thing again to my daughter. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear it. Absolutely not. It's saying something. And so what if you're perceived as making trouble or disturbing the peace around the holidays or, being whatever it is that you are being told you are being, that means you are not staying in your box. Who cares, right? We need to use our voices. We need to be in alignment and we need to help this along. We have more comments. I want to jump on this too. Lisa says, this has always been part of what type of beings we are supposed to be. Totally not right. It has been suppressed into our minds since the beginning of time. Rose says, the healed masculine is about stepping into our power, stepping into leadership, and helping those that need help and standing up for those that need it. 100% girl. Tina says, if you want to see how much we've progressed, watch some 80s movies. You will cringe. Thought we would share some 80s movies with our teen goddaughter and had to keep correcting the narrative throughout. Stacy says, I always say something, but I always consider how others will feel. And if they choose to learn through fear rather than love, I don't deny their choice. Am I seeing that wrong? No. Okay, I want to address specifically that. So let me read it again for you guys. I always say something, but I always consider others' Okay, that's what you're saying. She says, I always say something, but I always consider others free will. And if they choose to learn through fear rather than love, I don't deny their choice. Am I seeing that wrong? You are not seeing that wrong. And this is an amazing point because that is true. If I'm sovereign and you're sovereign, everybody's sovereign, right? That means that everybody is right in their opinion to a certain degree because it's their opinion. However, when I say speak up and say something, I mean when it is affecting somebody. Does that make sense? If you are in a situation where your father is speaking to your daughter in a way that is demeaning her and you see her being affected by that, it's saying something to him in that context and removing her from that situation, right? That's protecting. If he continues to do that behavior, what's the consequence? The consequence is you don't get to be around your granddaughter because you are being toxic to her, you're affecting her negatively. So yes, we can't change people's minds, obviously, but we can decide what we put up with in our little mini verses. And that's what it is. In your house, what do you accept? What do you accept for your children who you are protectors of until they're old enough to protect themselves, right? And that doesn't mean that you kind of steamroll them and give them your feelings. It means you're touching base with your children's feelings and understanding how things are affecting them so that you can better navigate that. Does that make sense? Because this gets very tricky, right? Because it can easily be misconstrued as also stepping on everybody's free will, getting on a soapbox, constantly lecturing, and that's not what this is. It's simply saying, this does not feel good to me. And you'll know that because it'll hit wrong. You don't have to think about it, right? Just like when I was watching that movie, it was like, that just hit wrong. And we have systemic misogynism in this country. It is bad. So allowing it to continue is not really an option at this point. So how does that translate for you? How do you react to it in your life? I can't tell you. But free will is a thing that you have to respect. So if you state your feelings, right? If you say, this is not acceptable as a way to speak to me, and that other person then says, well, I don't care, this is who I am, okay, end of conversation. You have shown me, you have told me who you are, I have told you who I am, and now we understand each other, or not, but I know what I need to do and where I need to be. So it's very important to remember that sovereignty. Let me see here. Claudia says, part of my life mission is to raise 2 sons and 2 daughters and to show them balance, 100%. Crystal says, identifying perception first. We often interpret women by their relationship to a man rather than learning her sovereign being above all entanglements, 100%. Kristen says, the sad part is that my mother is the worst offender. The woman as a servant is so ingrained in her that she doesn't seem to understand sovereignty. It is always astounding to me her view of how a woman should act. And Vivi says, and be careful means expect reactions that are defensive. Ask them why and help them see what their root fears are. You know, this really brings up an interesting point, right? Because it's becoming so clear to me these days that we can't save anybody. We really can't. We can't tell anybody, look at this viewpoint and understand it. Especially lately. I don't know if you've been feeling that too, but it's like the more we move into this energy, the larger the divide becomes and the more difficult it is to connect, right? And with people who are so ingrained in their old beliefs and in their belief systems that are rooted in fear. And that's really what that is, right? It's fear. And it's easy to fall into that trap of like, this is good and this is bad. It's not good or bad. It is what it is. This is where we are. This is where we are as a society. And we don't need to go back and change anything, right? You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to fix your mom. But moving forward, you do need to decide how you want to be, what you want to accept, and what world you want to build, And so my main point to you today is that with that in mind, watch your words, right? Watch your thoughts, watch your feelings, see what comes up. I know I've had to work through so much of my own toxic objectify culture that has been inside of me since I was, I don't even know, since forever. It was inside of me. I've had to work through that myself, and I still work through it, right? Because we as women are taught to fight each other all the time, put each other down. Why? I don't know. There's no good reason for it. It's like this weird lack mentality competition that if one woman reaches some goal, it somehow takes away space for you to get there. And that's not true. So as we ascend into this energy, we get to see those places that don't make any sense anymore. And it's not that we have to be angry at them. It's not that we have to say, I wish it hadn't been this way. No, everything needed to happen exactly how it happened to get us right here to this place. And this is growth. This is amazing growth. It's leaps and bounds. And yet it sucks when the people we love are stuck in their ruts. But remember, we are all sovereign divine beings, and we came here to learn and experience different things. So we can't rob each other of whatever experiences we signed up to experience in this lifetime. Some of us have signed up for whatever it is we're doing right now, right? We've signed up to be in this liminal space and bring in new earth energy. Some of us did not sign up for that, clearly. And we have to be respectful of that. We can't drag people kicking and screaming with us. So it's hard on our hearts to see people we love continue to stay in toxic behavior patterns. It doesn't mean that we drop ourselves down in there and stay with them. Continue rising up, continue staying in your heart, continue calling things out that don't seem right. Please don't call them out on Facebook. And I'm just gonna say that to you. Facebook is not a good place to create a debate that helps anybody. Have you been watching it? Because I've been watching it. I watch and I observe and I see the things. And if you have something to say that you truly have big emotional feelings about, that is not your platform. Never in the history of ever has one of those Facebook rant posts truly touched a mind and a heart. And people said, well, thank you for sharing that opinion, because now I'm going to completely change, whatever ass backward thing I'm doing. It's just not a thing. So if you are truly wanting to make some sort of a difference, if you are feeling like you need to say something about something, find a different way to address that. And ask yourself, why do you need to address it publicly? Right? Why do you need to put it on Facebook? Are you looking for validation? Do you actually like the energy of fighting? What is it? Because I watch this day in and day out, and all it looks like is a toxic circle jerk to me. And it doesn't have any love in it. And it is very low vibrational. So watch where you put your energy, please, because this is where you put your manifestation. Where you spend your energy, where you put it, where you direct it, that's what you are adding to. That's what you're bolstering to. So be mindful of your energetic currency and only put it in places where you actually want to see more fire, right? Where you actually want to see things get bigger, okay? Fighting and even an argument or debating, these are not, these are ego-based things, okay? If one person has an opinion and this person has an opinion and they're trying to get each other to change opinions, even if this person says, but my opinion is rooted in love because, my stance is the correct stance. And this person says, well, but my stance is the correct stance too. And you come at each other trying to throw facts and thoughts and feelings and convince the other person that my side is right. And they're saying my side is right. This is an ego fight. It doesn't result in any upward mobility. It is an ego fight. So let's stay out of ego fights because they're a waste of everybody's energy. And in fact, when you get into a fight like that, an ego fight, you actually give more energy to all of the lower vibrations. You're feeding that. You're feeding the bottom rungs, okay? So however helps you. I don't know. It just, that's what came out of my mouth. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about with you guys today, because it's an ongoing conversation and it's multifaceted, but it's also really simple if we start to really root into our own sovereignty. A lot of things fix themselves, right? Like a lot of things just smooth out and align when you stop giving away your power and you start tapping in here. Start finding your inspiration from your own heart. Start believing in yourself beyond all reason, right? As long as you are here in this space, rooted in and feeling in alignment with yourself, all of those other systems can't really put their hooks in you, because you're an empowered being. You are sovereign. And that is the trick. It's the magic sauce. Unfortunately, we can't just go around and sprinkle sovereign dust on everybody so they get it, but it's okay, we don't have to. We just do need to be aware that we are not perpetuating old ass behaviors and implanting them in the next generation, right? So that's all. Super good, wonderful times, good chats. So guys, we are ramping up to winter solstice. On Mondays live, I'm doing a winter solstice meditation thingy event. So it's the same time as the live. It's not different. I just made a graphic and I'm trying to get as many people as possible. So tell your friends. It's Monday at 8:30 in the morning. And of course, there's no charge for this. And we're gonna gather together, power it up, and it's a wonderful way to start your winter solstice off with whatever it is you are doing for the rest of that night, okay? In addition, I have left the 3-day activation at $55. So if you would like to do that, it is a 3-day activation. Hop on my website and try it out, because it is a really great time to just give yourself that little energy upgrade and clear your stuff, okay? I have a lot more coming from that, and I have a lot of meditations that I have a couple meditations that I popped on my website yesterday, and one of them is a somatic energy release meditation, which if you did the new moon, I did a mini one of that with you. This is a longer one, it's about 9 minutes, and it will help you get into your body and really stay in that space. And I can't remember what else I put there. I don't know. But anyway, I've kept it at 55 for you. I'll keep it through until solstice. I just have like a problem with that. I don't know. I'll have to address that with myself. I just love putting things on sale. But go ahead and check it out if you're interested. Activations are where I'm putting my energy. And as we move into 2021, you know, I'm like, who are you? Who are you guys? What do you want? What do you do? And I ask myself that too, because I can't get away from myself. So I've asked myself that as well. Like, who am I? What do I do? And activations are what I do. Activations, meditations, and talking to you on live videos. So this is my jam. Thank you for supporting me. I love you guys so much. Go try the new meditations. And if you do, let me know what you think. I'm really interested. And I hope you have an amazing Wednesday, snow day. We'll see. I'm skeptical, but this is how I am with every snow day. And I will see you again on Friday morning for the energy update for the weekend. Should be interesting. And I love you lots. If this has been helpful for you, please share. Sharing helps me beyond all reason. It just does. I'm trying to get viral, right? Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and follow.